This is MC1 Gamer bringing you another Unlocking Age of Sigmar, and today we have a very special guest. Actually, we have Kaleb Walters. Kaleb,
how's everyone? I'm doing good. How's everyone doing today?
Well, I don't know if they can answer you. You can hear them all, but I don't know how many people are going to be popped in by now. But usually it takes about 5 minutes for some people to jump in. But hey, this is a big deal because a lot of people, you may not know Kaleb very well if you're not in the competitive scene for Age of Sigmar. Maybe some people might recognize him from the scene going back to Warhammer Fantasy. But Kaleb, in terms of the modern game, is a 2-time GT winner. So Kaleb, you play Tzeentch, and you won 2 major tournaments this year. You won Adepticon 2017. You took the top nod on the 2K, and then you took the top nod again on NOVA. So congratulations.
Thank you. Nothing's like getting lucky.
You know what? One time is lucky. When you do it twice, when you repeat, when you do it back to back, it's not luck. But I just found out recently, we were talking, and apparently you have some background with Warhammer Fantasy even before this, where you were on the competitive scene, and you actually you were winning events there too.
Yeah, I mean, mostly the biggest tournament I enjoy going to is Adepticon. A group of like 6 or 7 guys, we all leave our wives at home, and we we leave on Tuesday and we don't come back until Monday night the following week. And we call it a foodcation because every single stop we take, we're eating some type of food. It doesn't matter even if you're full or whatnot. And it's a bunch of guys playing games, and I love it. I mean, Warhammer Fantasy, Age of Sigmar, this is a lot of fun.
So, being that you kind of took the transition over from initially from Warhammer Fantasy, what was your impression? You actually, before I ask this question, I was actually very surprised. We actually played in the opening game of the 2.5K event. And now we're going to talk about that in just a minute also, because that was a pretty good throwdown. But what I didn't realize is that you had just really started Age of Sigmar basically like the days, maybe a week before that, right?
Yeah, like I think I've played like just a few games against some random guy at a store, and I love Tzeentch. It was always my favorite army when I was playing, Warhammer Fantasy Battles, 7th edition, like End Times and things like that. And so as soon as the book came out, the book came out like 2 months before Adepticon. And I literally said to my brother, I said, hey bro, I'm gonna throw down $600. If I build it quickly, can you please paint it? Because that's kind of our thing. I build everything, I customize everything, I make everything look kind of cool, and then he just paints it. And it just worked out. And I just read the book, I was like, oh, these guys look pretty good. Let's take these. I was like, let's take 18 of them. They look great, and it just turned out to be a winner.
Yeah, by understatement. So wait, I want to actually show some pictures from your army because you kind of share a love for converting that I do, and it was something that when we first met, we were kind of geeking out about each other's armies because they were not the standard army. They had their own color scheme, but there was a lot of different parts and customizations that were put on them. And I want to show that off to people because I don't know how many people may have seen your army. Now, we're going to do a little bit different things on the show for the viewers. We're going to talk about, some of the games, show some of the pictures from Kaleb's game, from our game together, and show a couple pictures from the 2 major events that you've won this year. And once we get through all that, we'll talk about, how some of those games went. We're going to dive deeply into the list, and as we normally do, and then also into all the war scrolls and some of the strategies behind that. So I know some people kind of usually tune in just for the strategy, and it is an unlocking video. But we're gonna reminisce a little bit beforehand, just for a few minutes.
I do have a lot of strategies, so that's good.
Sure.
I shoot models and I roll a lot of 6s.
Well, if the dice roll in your favor, man, but that's why we roll them.
Better be lucky.
I'm going to show some of these pictures here because this is pretty impressive. Let me go pull up one of these, and while I'm pulling this up, I'm going to go and share my screen. Why don't you, when it actually shares, go ahead and tell me a little bit about what you what we're looking at here and what your goal is here. Wait a second. There we go. There we go. I got that nice, wonderful, endless. There we go. We'll do that one more time. Everybody's getting a headache.
The infinity display.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay, so this is now your theme is what for this army?
So it's Christmas. I love the I love Christmas, first of all, but I love the opposite of demons. And what's the opposite of evil and demons and, you know, just gross looking things? Well, it's Christmas, you know, Merry Christmas. And of course, the Karos, one of his spells is the gifts of change. So of course he's shooting out little Christmas presents, little gifts.
I love it. I cracked up so hard when you first told me about this. It was a joy to see some creativity, but the idea of a fucking chaos army shooting out Christmas presents.
Oh, I mean, and I'm sorry, guys. My brother wasn't able to fully paint it. I mean, I only gave him like 2 months to well, actually less than that, because I had to build it. And he did as much as he possibly could in that time frame, and he's working on it right now.
All right, so let's see if we can take a look at some of these other pictures here. Here we go. So this is another angle here.
That's my Lord of Change. Actually, that's completely different. That's the Lord of Change that's holding the Christmas bag, and he's shooting out, different ornaments and more presents with the Santa hat and some stuff on the base, and just, there's a lot more stuff I want to do to it.
All right. Well, we got to take a look at this when it gets a little more finished. Has it progressed more since then?
A little bit more. The Marauders. He's working on the Marauders right now.
Okay. And who's this guy?
That's the Marauders. So those are my candy cane shields, candy cane holding, Chaos Marauders. Merry Christmas.
I love it. This is so cool. All right. So there we go. And these are the infamous.
Those are death.
The infamous Skyfires.
Yeah, so, some of them are shooting snowballs. Some of them are going to be shooting out candy canes. Some of them are holding candy canes. Some of them are holding hot chocolate mugs. Some are shooting ornaments and Christmas presents.
Oh, God.
They're all doing something different.
Those are my
Shannons. Yeah, one has the hot chocolate, one has the candy cane, and just trying to do something different.
Excellent. So we both have a bunch of pictures from Adepticon 2017, and I'm going to go ahead and pull that up, too. So here we go. Let's go grab this and that. All right, here. So this is one of your pictures, and you obviously were going up a Death Army. That's not my Death Army.
No.
Just for people to see. So this is not from our game. But this is just to illustrate some of your tactics in terms of how you deployed. So we can go talk about this in more detail about the intricacies later, but you give us from a high level just what you're trying to do here with your deployment.
Well, a lot of times, when you're playing in a tournament, I would tell you the number one thing you want to do is ask your opponent. A lot of times it's open book or open list, and just ask them, do you have anything that moves across the table turn one? Do you have anything how fast is your fastest model? Just generic questions about their army. And what I normally do, because Tzeentch in general have very weak saves. They have a 5-up save or a 4-up save, and I protect them with these little cheap 60-point Marauders, a unit of 10 Marauders is 60 points. Mm-hmm. So if somebody decided to take their 440-point zombie dragon and fly them over first turn to charge me, well, they normally don't have a 1 or 2 inch range, so they're going to have to charge Marauders, and then it's my go. And now I have all my casting and shooting sitting at a 450-point, model, which will now in turn make my 2,000-point go against their 1,500-point. So a lot of it is just bubbling and protecting your models as much as you can. And that's the majority of the deployment, because a lot of things in Age of Sigmar have the capability of teleporting, moving 24 inches first turn, charging, sometimes even charging and then piling and then charging again with a special item or ability as well.
All right. Let's go ahead and move to another picture here. Okay, so... Are we looking? Is this Tom's list? Okay, we're going to get back to this. We'll get back to that. So this is what you do. This is how you deployed up against him?
Against Tom, yeah. I deployed just like against Tom.
We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Okay, so and this is your prize, Pat, from taking top spot.
Yeah, I just got lucky.
Yeah. You're a humble guy. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up. Let's see. We're going to pull up. This is the list that I brought. All right. And we actually sat down. We had a 2,500-point game, again, after we started just like geeking out and whatnot, we just started laughing at all the the conversions and everything. And let's see. I think I have let's see. Here we go. This is us right before the game. I took a picture of everybody I played with right before the play. But let's see. We got hold on here. This is now you can see this is your bubbling. It was a little bit different for our game.
Yep.
So let's see if I can go and pull up. Let me see there. There we go. This is from your side of the table. There was my deployment. Now, what was this? What was the objective of this game, and how did you?
If you're looking at my side, the building to my right was what we called a stronghold, and the hill to my far left, which is on your side, was your stronghold. And the objective of the game was to kill the opponent's stronghold. But during deployment, you cannot deploy or move within 9 inches of your stronghold unless there was an enemy unit that crossed the line. So unless you moved within 9 inches, I was not able to move into the 9 inches of my stronghold, or vice versa with yours. So my thought process actually with this, since I think I deployed more than you or quicker. I actually gave
much
you,
quicker.
Yeah,
I had 14 drops. You had what, like 3 or 4?
No, it was. I don't have any battalions or anything like that. So no, it was up there. It was like 9, I think. But my thought process, because the stronghold, just so everyone knows, it had a 3-up armor save that cannot be rended. So no matter how good your rend is, you have a 3-up save, and it also had a 4-up save against mortal wounds. So I was thinking, okay, what's the most that Mitch can get in there? I'm thinking 1, 2, maybe 3 units maximum, and even Blood Knights, what they have 3 attacks each, so that's 16 attacks with the champion, and you hit on 3s, 1 on 3s, and I'm thinking, okay, I have a 3-up save. I'm going to pass a lot of these, and then it's my go, and I can actually kill a good part of his army. But with all that said, that's a good plan. Executing on it is a little different. So what happened, I believe you were able to get a unit of 5 Blood Knights and Hex Race.
You gave me first turn.
I did give you first turn.
Okay. So what happened is I zoomed everything up there in one go, much to your surprise. I was actually surprised you gave me first turn, because I figured I was going to just lose half my army in the first turn.
Oh, no. Because you got to think about Skyfires are so fragile. They only have a 5-up save. Yeah, I mean, I do have some magic. I do have some things that can hurt that. But you also got to remember, this was like one of my first games I've ever played. You were my first opponent, my first tournament I played in. So I really didn't know what my stuff did that much.
Yeah. So I did I help you at all with? Just...
Oh my, yeah. Well, I'll tell you. I mean, towards the end, I'll tell you what happened and what I learned.
Let's first take a look at this.
Yeah.
This is what you faced after the first turn, my first turn.
And you know why I'm making that face? So even though I had a 3-up save with you not being able to rend it and a 4-up against Envol, you happened to do, it was like 24 wounds you did on my building out of 30.
Yeah.
And
I got it down to like 28 in the next turn.
Yeah. The dice gods were not with me. So I was like, holy crap. Like, what am I going to do? So I had 2 choices. I knew I could possibly get the double turn with the 50-50 chance, right? And I could go after your stronghold, but I'm like, there's no way that he's going to not roll better than what I roll. There's no way I can kill his stronghold in 1 turn, maybe even 2 turns. So I said, let me surround my stronghold. Since now he's within 9 inches, now Mitch is there, let me actually go in there and just obliterate what he has. And that's what I did. I remember I kill both the Blood Knight unit and the Hex Race in my first turn?
It's not in the first turn.
It wasn't the first turn?
You started chewing through them. The second turn, I think you wiped out one of these units, and by the end of the 3rd turn, they were both gone, but they had done their damage.
Beyond did it. I've never rolled so many 2s and 1s in my life in any game system. I was like, what did I just do? Yeah. I literally had to roll 24 2s and 1s out of probably, what did you have, like close to 30 attacks?
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. But let me just say that this is not the most Keeley of armies. But I did have shenanigans. I did have some movement shenanigans. So I was definitely playing to this objective, and I took advantage of trying to go after this objective as early as I could have. So I think if upon reflection, if we had to replay this, things would have gone down a whole lot differently.
You never know. I mean, the dice gods, you just don't know, But this was so cool because I've actually watched Mitch a lot on, I was actually watching him paint his army and build his army and customize his army. And then I even saw that he was heading down to Adepticon. I'm like, oh, shoot, Mitch is coming to Adepticon. Awesome. I'm going to see him. And then my first match is against Mitch. I'm like, Mitch, what's up, man? So it was really kind of cool.
It was pretty cool. We also got visited by a GW celebrity.
My man, Duncan.
Yeah, right as this was ending.
Yep.
And he came and he started talking to me about Bretonnians and the converting that I had done, which I was thrilled about. But I think at this point the game was in the bag, so we could all just have a good laugh, and it was just nice that he popped by. So that was pretty awesome.
Well, you remember what happened at the end of the game? The reason this is what I learned, and I didn't realize this. So Adepticon had a rule that was different than Nova, and the rule with Adepticon is if you happen to table your opponent, the game ends.
Well, it ends and then you calculate points. Yes.
Exactly. And I lost because of that, because I didn't realize I did not have to attack your necromancer. And I also thought that I could just keep playing by myself. Apparently, Kaleb doesn't read the rules of the packet. He just goes up and shows up with 18 Skyfires and wishes the best. But it was one of those things where I killed your last necromancer. Game ended. I think we're on turn 3 or 4, and I had a chance to go kill your stronghold, but I killed your necromancer, and the game ended. And I was like, what the heck? And then Duncan rolled in. Oh, what the heck? I'm like, oh my God. Yeah,
but that was pretty cool, though. For him to come in at that point. But yeah, it was a big shock. Now that was you learned from that for later on in this event.
Oh yes,
and
it was practicing.
Well.
I did learn well. It was practicing for the GT, which was 2 days later, because the 2500 was Thursday.
Right.
Friday was the team tournament, which I played with my brother, who's never played AOS either, and then Saturday, Sunday was the GT, which if you've never been to Adepticon, you have to go. It's incredible.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. It was fun, man. Everybody should take the opportunity to go to Adepticon. It is like the Super Bowl right now of wargaming in the U.S.
Yeah, there's over 100 players.
But that's not the only big event. You also went to Nova. Mm-hmm. So here you are at Nova. Let's see. Well, that's not you. That's your table. Is this your deployment here?
Oh, that's a great guy. He was my 5th round. Yeah, I got his number. He actually travels to Maryland, and so we're going to play more often. He's a phenomenal player, and he was playing Death. And you can see again, so if you look at my deployment on the lower left, you can see that I bubble wrap my things again, because a lot of Death, they don't have the ability of, having a 3-inch range attack. So I made sure I was more than 3 inches away. So even if he did his movement shenanigans and charged into my Marauders, he was not going to suck in any of my army.
Yeah, well, some of that's going to change with some of the Death armies. We're going to talk about that in a minute, just how you might be changing up a lot of your strategies, because with the new General's Handbook, there's definitely an adjustment in the meta. I don't think it's going to necessarily – it's not going to knock down Tzeentch in the hierarchy of top-tier armies, but it's definitely going to be something that you're going to have to adapt to. So I definitely want to get your feedback on that. But let's take a look here. We got this picture here. This is a serious pile up here. You're wedged here as compact as you can be. Jeez.
So you have to understand what I was facing. I don't know if I sent you the pitture of what I was facing.
Those are the only ones I got.
Okay, so what I was facing against Joe, and Joe had 230 Tzeentch models. They were all blue horse, brimstone horse, and pink horse with the Lord of Change, and he can swap it 3 different times because he had 18 units.
Right.
And you see the picture of the changeling, and because you just place the models, you can suck things into combat. And he can also place models in between my models. Because so I pushed everything so close together so he couldn't put stuff in within my army to suck everything into combat.
That is some serious shenanigans. You can't use the changeling on anything inside because you can't even friggin' place them.
Well, that's the idea. That was my idea. So,
That's great. All right, so let's go take a look here. No, that's the wrong way. Okay. So this was the end result at Nova. Again, back-to-back big-time GTs.
Yeah.
You took top spot again.
I love that trophy. GW provided that trophy. I think they cast it from Forge World. It is so cool. And those little square blocks, they're like little dice that they made out of resin. So cool. I like that a lot.
Excellent. So, so let's go and dial this back a little bit here. So we're going to stop on that. All right, so your experience with these big and again, you've played competitively before Age of Sigmar. You were playing in Warhammer Fantasy. What did you play in Warhammer Fantasy?
So my favorite army was my Goblin army. It was 100% goblins except for 1 Black Orc and 1 Shaman, and it was funny because I remember I took it to Adepticon. I can't remember. I was like 2012 or. I can't remember the exact year, and I actually got first place with it. And people just didn't understand, how is this army killing everyone? I mean, it had like 2 Doom Divers, 3 Rock Lobbers, 6 Bolt Throwers, like 5 units of goblins with all short bows and fanatics, a unit of 70 goblins with the Poison Banner, 4 Pump Wagons.
I have seen this army quite a bit.
Yeah, and it was just so it's just like an onion. Like you have to face different layers and layers of the army, and finally when you get through, you got all these fanatics. So I played that a lot, and I also played a Nurgle Chaos Demon army with my brother. So we always alternated who took what army. You want to take goblins, you want to take this and that. So we always alternated every year, or you just built a whole new army. But we've been playing since the beginning of 7th edition, just having a good time.
All right, so now you're deeply entrenched now in Age of Sigmar. Age of Sigmar is a couple years in. We now have a new General's Handbook, and that's it adds a whole new series of scenarios. There's been a lot of people that are showing games that have been played in the fairly recently. Nova was still GHB 1, so it did not use the new meta, did not use new points, didn't use all the new allegiance abilities, because I think that was the weekend everything came out actually.
It was, but we did actually. It was kind of interesting because we were using the new FAQs with the old General's Handbook 1.
Okay, gotcha.
But some of the people actually received emails saying, no, we're going to use the old FAQs. And then some of the people said we got the new FAQs. So there was some confusion during the game. You just had to agree which version we were using because they do alter, the way you play. But it was a ton of fun. So a lot of my preparation was still with General's Handbook 1. I only have one game in with General's Handbook 2.
Okay. All right. Well, there's going to be lots of changes. Yep. Now, you've read the book. You probably have seen, and have you looked at a lot of the what you're going to be facing with a lot of other armies and allegiances and stuff? I know we've gone over a couple of things. There's been a lot of people putting out videos, not just my unlockings, but a lot of people just prognosticating about what the new meta is going to be. What's your thoughts on what you're going to need to do with your Tzeentch army to meet some of these challenges? So
they did hurt my Tzeentch by increasing the points of my Skyfires, which let me be honest. I think I really think they need to rework the War Scroll or increase the points a little bit more. I don't think they did enough to them because some of the things that I feared they they obliterated. Like I feared. I have a friend also named Tom who plays Caradron Overlords. And he had
not the Tom,
not the Tom we know, a different Tom, and
Tom. Yeah.
He actually did quite a bit of damage to my Skyfire army, quite a bit, and it made me nervous. And then of course I had to call Games Workshop and complain, and I talked to a high up, and then they said, "No, I'm just joking. I didn't do anything like that. You crazy?" No, it was that was one of the armies that made me quite nervous, and I don't know why they did what they did. Completely destroyed the Caradron Overlords, in my opinion.
Well, I don't think they destroyed them. I mean, we could talk about that a little bit on another show. But they did put a dent in this army.
They did, because now if you take my exact same list and you put it in General's Handbook 2, I literally have to take out my Lord of Change, which is it's a lot of power. I mean, you're talking about two spells, probably putting on an additional 10 mortal wounds a turn, plus the threat of combat, plus the threat of dispelling. You took out a lot, but I can still kind of take my same army, which is quite powerful. And I actually played it against somebody in the General's Handbook too.
Yeah, so we're going to go take a look at that army now because you're already planning and preparing for upcoming events.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've reminisced a little bit, and we'll go into like more detail about some of your strategies. But let's go take a look at the first of your 3 lists. If anybody is new to the unlockings, or maybe you've watched some of my old ones. This predates even the first General's Handbook when I was just first trying to figure out, and alongside of everybody else, how Age of Sigmar works. So restarted it up again during the first General's Handbook release, and now with a lot of fury, trying to put out as many of these as I can so that we can take a look and see how these armies are going to work in the new meta. And the new meta has a lot of challenges. First of all, 6 new scenarios. I'm hoping that a lot of people combine those with the old 6 scenarios, so we have 12 to choose from. But we've kind of played a lot of the old ones to death over the past year or so. But now we have these new ones, and they have new ways to win, new objective things to focus on, and we're kind of spread out a little more with what we need to do with our armies. But on top of that, there's a lot of new abilities, a lot of new power, a lot of new movement shenanigans and deployment shenanigans that a lot of more armies can engage with. But also, the meta seems to be moving towards a larger horde-ish type of mentality because a lot of cost breaks. This is all great stuff. And you're going to have to, you have to adapt your tactics, but you might have to adapt your list as well. So let's take a look. Do we want to start off? You have 3 different lists. Oh, and let me go back to this. So I used to do different list sizes, but 2K is pretty much it's pretty much the gold standard for tournament play. So it's 2K with no allies, and because now there's an allies element where you can take up to 400 points of that 2K. Depending on what the keyword listing is for what you can ally with. We're going to look at two different types of lists with allies. So you have several different ways to play, and I love this about what you sent me. We've got your list that you're thinking of taking to Adepticon 2018, and way in advance telling everybody what you're going to be bringing to the table.
There's no secrets. I mean, I honestly would love to see other people playing it just to experience, just
they
different.
are.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun, but I don't mind.
Well, I faced, I think out of my 10 games at Adepticon, I faced 4 of them were Tzeentch. So I faced the 18, I faced the 27 Skyfire. I went to another tournament locally. I faced another. I've been facing a lot of Tzeentch.
Hold on, how many people did you play at Adepticon or Tzeentch?
Well, I had four different games against Tzeentch.
I'm good. I'm friends with the TO, and you did beat me the first game I came. Maybe I made a phone call. I said, hey, stack them with Tzeentch. No, I'm playing.
Oh man, yeah. Well, I had nightmares about Tzeentch after that, but I won most of those games. But wow,
they're powerful.
It's devastating. You got to really play to what, if you're playing to what Tzeentch can do, maybe not playing to what others can do. Okay, so we've got 3 different armies. We got your Adepticon preview.
Yep.
You've got a Tzeentch Mortals list, and then we have a Tzaangor heavy list, which I think is great because we're going to get all these armies really have a lot of examples on how you can play them, how you can build. But a lot of people talk about just the dual Lord of Change or Kairos Lord of Change, Skyfire heavy list. We're going to see some changes here and some adjustments on how you can play and still have really good ways to win. So let's start off with we'll end with the Adepticon list.
Okay.
Let's go first. Take a look at your Mortals list. I'm going to pull that up, and let's go and do
that's my fun list. I can't wait to play that more. It's Mortals.
All right. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. So tell me about this list. Everything's up on the board. I'm going to go and pop in with some War Scrolls as we go through maybe some of the Allegiance stuff. So I'm going to follow your lead. Tell me what you wanted to say about this particular army.
So, well, it's all mortals, first of all, and it's all pretty much all slaves to darkness, and since it's all Tzeentch as well, and I'm able to take allies, I was actually able to take the Disciples of Tzeentch book. So I think that's really, really cool. So I guess we can talk about the War Scroll Battalion, the Fate Sworn Warband.
All right, let me go pull that up. There we go. I'll zoom in a little bit on that. Sure.
So, you have to have 1 Mortal Tzeentch hero, and you also have to have 9 Mortal Tzeentch units. So the abilities of this is, as long as you take your units in groups of 9, so, the 9, 18, 27, etc., then you get the first ability. And the first ability is if you suffer any wounds or mortal wounds, you get a 6-up save. And as long as you roll 6-up, you completely ignore it. And it's really cool because it's stackable, And then, of course, the next ability is all your weapons for all of your units are, if you have a rend negative or rend dash, you actually get rend -1 for all your units.
Nice.
And in addition, all your heroes can cast Arcane Bolt if they were not a caster by themselves, or if they were a caster, they can cast Arcane Bolt twice. But of course, you can't do that with the match play. Yeah, with match play. But I do wonder, does that mean I can cast Arcane Bolt once and then cast the shield spell, the Shield of Fate?
I would guess that you could use the heroes that normally can't cast, get that bonus of using the Arcane Bolt, and then the guys who can cast and who have multiple spells, they're not going to be able to cast Arcane Bolt, and they have their own whatever the rest of the list is. So between Mystic Shield and whatever other spells they know, you're free to go. Yeah, actual wizards.
I would think so too. It says it can attempt to cast Arcane Bolt twice in each of your hero phases. So the wording, I just don't know what the wording, if it's just, Arcane Bolt twice or, however it would. But I would assume that I would be able to cast Arcane Bolt and maybe the Sorcerer's basic ability, or of course the Shield spell.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so, because they would say that otherwise, that they would act as a caster and they would have spells, the basic spells. I think it's just saying that you only have the Arcane Bolt here. So it does kind of, it is, there's a lot of these abilities that you can't use in match play. But, I don't think anybody's shedding any tears about maybe just a couple things that Tzeentch can do that they're not going to do in match play. All right, so let's go back to this. So what do we got? Okay, so we got a couple of really good things that you can do with Fate Swarm.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything. So of course, I mean, I guess we can go with Lord of the Manticore, you know, and just talk about him because he's actually really cool.
Okay, so you picked him, and let me go grab him.
I picked him as my general as well.
Nope, wait, no, I do this all the time. All right, good. I'm going to pull it up.
All right, so basically his movement is 12. He has a 4-up save. He has bravery 8 and 12 wounds. So he's no chump. He has to choose between taking the Demon Blade or the Chaos Flail, and because I just prefer the Demon Blade by itself, you know, it does have Ren dash, which means it actually has Ren -1 because of the battalion. So he has 4 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 3s, -1 Ren, D3 damage. And he also has the Lance as well, which is, you know, 2-inch range weapon, 3 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 3s. It will still be -1 Ren and 2 damage. But some of the abilities with the Lance is if you charge, you get a -1 Ren and then 3 damage instead of 2 damage. So he's actually quite killy, in my opinion.
Yeah, he is. I want to just point out something. For anybody who is worried about the wording, it actually says a Chaos Flail in one hand and a Chaos Lance in the other. That's legal. All right?
Yeah, it says I can have both, and I'm like, that is amazing.
It is damn amazing.
I have 2 weapons. You know, it's literally 7 attacks. Some do 2 to 3 damage, and some do D3 damage. And then I have the actual Manticore's Claws, which has 5 attacks and -1 damage. And then you have the tail that does the D6 attacks unless it's been wounded. I mean, there's just so much killing potential coming out of this model. And of course, the model flies. Since he is Tzeentch, he gets to unbind 1 spell. But also because of the battalion, he also gets to cast Arcane Bolt as well. So he's almost a sorcerer by itself. He has the Ruin Shield, so if you suffer any mortal wounds, he ignores them on 5s and 6s. Now, because he's a single wound model, he's not in groups of 9, so he doesn't get the battalion bonus of the extra 6-up save. So you definitely want to be careful with that. But he does have, each time you make a successful save roll of a 6 or more, the Chaos Lord on Manticore with the whatever, he basically punches back mortal wounds every time he rolls a 6.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just extra damage on top of damage. And then there's another ability. What is it? You can reroll hit rolls of 1 for the Manticore Claws and Jaws that target a monster. If the target unit is within the army's territory, you can reroll all failed to hit rolls with these attacks. I mean, they're just so much. And then, of course, the command ability. In my list, I also have a unit of Chaos Warriors. And this ability is pick the Chaos Warriors. That unit is within 15 inches until my next hero phase. You can reroll charge rolls, wound rolls, and battle shock test for that unit.
That's pretty sweet. So let's go pull up. You want to pull up the Warriors now?
Well, we're not done with him yet.
Oh, no, we're not? Okay.
Because he's in the Disciples of Tzeentch, he actually gets 2 items to pick for because he has the actual book traits now.
Oh, okay, that's right. Okay.
Right? So I'm going to go to that. I can't remember off the top of it. I know what I gave him this first one.
All right, so let's go ahead.
What's it called? The Blessing of...
We got the Blessing of Tzeentch.
So here's the blessing. Each time your general suffers a wound or a mortal wound on a roll of a 6, you ignore it. So now he ignores it. He has a re-rollable, not re-roll. He ignores it on a 6 because of his basic ability. Or excuse me, his shield does it on 5 and a 6. And then he also ignores it on a 6, which are stackable. So if you suffer a mortal wound, he has a 5 and a 6 chance, and then also on top of that, another 6 chance with the Blessing of Tzeentch.
And look, you get 2 6s, even though it's a 6. That double layer, I mean, that layer is pretty good. It does come into play.
It does. And if it was an armor save, I'm hoping to roll 6s so I punch mortal wounds back by itself. There's more that you can do with him as well with Chaos War Shrine, which you can also add an additional 6, which we'll get to in a second. And then, of course, I also took the time slip. Now, this is the fun one. Where is this bad boy? I'm actually looking for it real quick. Basically, I get a pile in and attack twice, once per game. Here it is. Once per battle, at the end of any combat phase, the bearer can enter time slip. If they do so, you can pile in an attack for a second time. So imagine he's going in with his 7 attacks, doing D3 wounds, and also 3 wounds with his lance and all his Manticore attacks and this. And he's like, you know what? Let's do this again. Because I'm facing some big monster or a big unit that I really need to nuke.
Yeah, I'm well aware of how awesome that can be. The fact that you get that second activation, yeah, if somebody doesn't try to attack him before the next turn, you can just try to whittle him down a little bit. You're just gonna have the same level of killing power.
Yep.
So it does take away some of that decision-making ability on the order of activation, because you really have to address this guy. If he hasn't killed what he's facing, he's probably gonna do it on the second activation.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I guess we can go to what, the sorcerer.
Yeah, I'll go pull that up.
Just kind of go one at a time.
Yep, we'll go through it, man. This is what you can also have a sorcerer lord.
Yep.
All right.
So his basic, he moves only 5 inches. He only has a paper save of a 5-up, bravery 7, and 5 wounds. He has his little weapon, 2-inch range, 1, hits on 4s, wounds on 3s, -1 D3. He's not meant to get in combat. Let's just say that. His abilities, though, in your hero phase, you can pick either a Chaos Sorcerer Lord or a unit that's within 10 inches to receive a gift, Foresight. Until your next hero phase, you can reroll save rolls of a 1 for that unit. So that ability just goes off. I just pick a unit within 10 inches. And I can reroll save rolls of a 1, which you'll see the synergy as this keeps on going. Of course, he's going to be Tzeentch, so he's going to get extra casting ability. His actual power is his actual casting is casting value of a 5. If successfully cast, pick a caster or unit within 18 inches until your next hero phase. You can reroll any hit rolls of a 1, wound rolls of a 1, or save rolls of a 1.
Sweet.
So now you're just stacking this on top of like 1 or 2 units. They're saving so much. They're re-rolling. You'll definitely have to have some counters just to remember all these things that you're adding to your units.
And what's this guy? This guy's got the paradoxical shield.
Yeah, so that's basically a +2 to your save, but you must re-roll your successful saves. But your re-rolls don't happen with the. What is it? So I have a 5-up save. So let's say you're doing -1. I'll have a 6-up. So I'll roll it. Let's say I roll 3 dice and I get 1 6. I'll have to re-roll the 6, but then the +2 to my save gets added to after.
All right. So this is from the
Paradox Shield. It's part of the Tzeentch book.
Yeah, I have it. I have the picture. I'm just trying to see where I have it.
Yeah, it says add.
There we go.
Yeah,
there it is.
There it is. I have it right here as well. It says add 2 to any save rolls you make for the bearer. However, you must re-roll successful save rolls you make for them. So just to basically make him a little bit more hardy in case somebody tries to target him.
It's pretty cool, though. I have to admit, you're getting a bonus on the save, but you have to succeed the second time.
Yeah, I mean it's he only has a 5-up, which brings it down to a 3-up. I mean, if he's in terrain, it's even better. But who's going to target him over some of the other choices you have? Let's be real.
Right.
Okay. Gaunt Summoner. He's my bad boy. He's the one that puts.
He's the bad boy for everybody.
he's the man. He's the one you want to kill. It's all because of his Infernal Flame spell. At the end of the day, if you target a unit within 18 inches, every model, not the unit, but every model within 18 inches of the Gaunt Summoner within that unit will suffer a mortal wound on a roll of a 4+. So you can imagine, you move your Gaunt Summoner up because you're facing now in this new Journal's Handbook too. You're going to be facing a lot of units of 30, maybe 40, maybe 50. Who knows? I mean, I might face a unit of 40 zombies and I just drop them down to 20,
right?
With one spell from one guy. And let's not forget, I'm using Disciples of Tzeentch, so I get the 9 fate dice. So I can guarantee the spell goes off and all these shenanigans, and I get 9 dice to pick and choose what I want to do with them.
Yeah, that's one. If I had thought of anything that might have gotten maybe nerfed a little bit, I would have thought the fate dice would have been it, just to go off on an aside, because I got to tell you, I said this when I did my first unlocking on Tzeentch, and I was talking about it on some shows prior to that. I felt that as soon as Tzeentch came out, that they're going to change the meta. They're going to take over the meta. They did. I wasn't the only one prognosticating this, but we touted it loudly and widely, and among many others, and it came true. I mean, you go up against Tzeentch, even some of the most powerful of casters, you got to wonder and worry whether or not you're going to get your spells off, and you might not be able to unbind these guys.
Yeah, because you have to roll higher. What if I just took 2 6s? I mean, that spell goes off no matter what.
I mean, there was one point where I had to get a 13 to be able to make sure that I got a spell off.
And unless you have, +2 to cast or +1 to cast, it's very difficult.
It's very difficult. Yeah. All right. So let's see. What else you got with this guy? Is that enough with this one, or we got more?
I mean, he has his blade, which is kind of cool. If you happen to do a wound with his 1 attack, and they fail their save, you roll 2 dice, and if it's higher than the bravery, the model's removed and slain. So it's kind of a one-trick pony kind of thing. But yeah, he's done. He's meant to just blow up units on a 4+. That's his goal. It's his goal in life.
So what do we have next?
We have 4 units of Marauders.
All right.
Those are...
They're cheap?
They're cheap. They protect your army. I say they're throwaway, but they're probably, in most cases, the bread and butter of my list, because they do a bubble wrap around me to where it protects my best stuff. And to be honest, they're actually still pretty good. I mean, they have the ability of hitting +1 to hit on a roll of a 4+. You know, they have +1 to their bravery. They have a 5-up save. You know, they're decent. You know, I can't tell you, for only 60 points to protect your army, to go claim objectives, to actually be some type of hardy. I mean, I've actually killed things with these guys. And now that they have Rend Dash, they're going to have Rend -1. So now they hit on if I roll a 4+, they hit on a 3, they wound on a 4, -1 damage. And on top of that, because there's 9 models in that unit, with the mortals, they're going to get they're going to have an extra save on a 6+, because they're within the battalion.
Very nice.
So now they have a 5-up followed by 6-up. So now they're even more like hardy, and you know, they're doing a lot. But yeah, you know, they're movement 6, 5-up save, bravery 6, 1 wound.
Very cool.
You know?
All right, and they're cheap, and you've got lots of them.
Yeah, 40.
4 units of these guys. That is pretty impressive. All right,
so you'll see that they're units of 9, though. You have to make sure the units of 9. So you do lose 1 model.
All right, you're paying for 10. You're just using 9 to get the benefits of the battalion, right?
Correct.
Okay, so we got next up we have warriors. Now, anybody who's seen anybody who's ever seen any chaos list of mortals knows warriors are pretty hardy. We can talk a little bit later about Tom's Nurgle list, but tell me how you're using them as for Tzeentch. What's their main use?
Well, because they're Tzeentch, they're going to have Rend -1, so they're actually killy now. They actually have the ability of actually doing some damage.
Right, they're not just tanky now. Yep.
Yeah, they're not just tanky. They actually can kill stuff as well. But in a nutshell, they have bravery 7 with the standard bearer. They have +1 to hit for just the champion. They get +1 to run and charge from a hornblower. They still have the Chaos Ruin shield, so they have a 5-up and 6-up save against mortal wounds, and of course another 6-up against mortal wounds from the command ability.
Right.
What is it? Chaos Warriors who wield the blade, blah, blah, blah. You can reroll hit rolls of a 1 for Chaos Warriors, wielding a pair of Chaos weapons. I probably won't be doing that. They'll have the shield because all my abilities give you +1 to hit and reroll and all these things, so I already have that. And then the other one is you can reroll save rolls of a 1 for the unit. Now, that's a benefit because I have more than 20, but even if I go under 20, I have spells and abilities that also give me that ability as well. But really what makes this unit so powerful is the combination of adding what my command ability from my general and the sorcerer. And if you go to the next war scroll, well, actually, there's a couple more war scrolls that get bonus. Go to the war shrine. Go to the war shrine.
You got it, war shrine. All right, there we go.
Now, what the war shrine does, he has 12 wounds. He has a 9-inch protection of the dark god. So every model unit within 9 inches of this will get an additional 6-up save on top of their other 6-up, on top of their other 5-up, on top of their regular everyday save. Yep. Right? They get all these saves. You're like, okay, I have a 3-up save or a 4-up save followed by a 6-up save followed by another 6-up save, and I'm like, all right, you did 2 wounds. I lost a model. Like, that's the idea of this, because they're actually supposed to kill some stuff, but also sit on objectives, because that's what the meta is going to, is sitting on objectives. So again, they have the bonus of the 6-up save, but also I gave it the Mark of Tzeentch. Now, when you're the Mark of Tzeentch, you can, basically it's an ability, and you roll a dice on a 3 or higher, a target unit of Tzeentch gets to reroll all their failed saves. So the Chaos Warriors naturally have a 4-up save, but what if I just cast the +1 to their save magic ability, because nobody can stop that when I'm that far back unless you're a Slon. So now they're a 3-up save, and then I roll a 3+. Now they have a 3+ save that's re-rollable, followed by a 6-up save on top of that, and their killy power because they're Rend -1. Right?
Yeah.
So they're powerful. They're very hardy. And if you go to the next War Scroll sale,
yep, I got them ready. Hold on.
That's my allies.
Again, yeah, and what, your 400 points of allies are in total?
Sale, just sale.
All right, just sale.
Just sale. Because it's the battalion. I filled up my whole battalion, so it's a 2-drop list.
See, that's a big deal. Now, you mentioned something before we even go to sale about the new meta is about really kind of taking objectives and holding them. The phrase that's been coined is alpha bunkering. We've heard about alpha striking and, trying to get that first strike off and bloodying your opponent and killing off really, the key components of your opponent's army. The new meta is really starting to see not just the idea of alpha strike, but alpha bunkering, meaning getting low drop, which this is a 2-drop army. That's a big deal. It's sitting a tough unit that's hard to move off an objective, and then just racking up the points on that. And Sail is essential, and it excels in moving large units to where you want them. So, we've all heard about Sail, but he is limited now. He's gotten nerfed a little bit, but that doesn't hurt this army because this is what he's about.
I think he got better. For my list, for this list, all Slaves of Darkness, and they're all Tzeentch and awesome. So basically, the big thing is the Traitor's Mist, his spell. That's really what he's all about. And what it does, it's a casting value of a 7, and you pick a once it's successfully casted, you pick a friendly Slaves of Darkness unit wholly within 15 inches of the caster and remove the unit from the battlefield, and then set them up anywhere on the battlefield as long as they're 9 or more inches away from enemy models. So I buff my whole army up, or my, one of my units, whatever one I really want to pick, maybe the Manticore, maybe the Chaos Warriors, maybe the Chaos Knights, whatever I really want. I buff them to all hell. And then I cast my, Cell spell, and I teleport them, let's say, on a whole bunch of objectives, or I, wherever I really want, right? 9 inches away. Maybe I want to charge somebody. Maybe I want to lock a whole army into one spot, right? For at least a turn or two. And I can guarantee the first charge because, remember, my 9 dice, I'm guaranteed going to get some 5. Well, I'm not guaranteed to get 5 and 6s, but
it's a good chance.
A pretty, good chance you're going to roll some 5s and 6s to guarantee that you're going to have a first turn charge with 27 Chaos Warriors with a -1 Ren, a 3-up rerollable save, re-rolling your wounds, all your wounds. Like you're going to do some damage, quite a bit of damage, while the rest of your army goes and claims the rest of the objectives and prepares for the second teleporting unit, maybe the Chaos Knights, maybe the Manticore, whatever it might be, to help keep the opponent's army in one place, or just to do whatever I need to do.
Yeah, and the Chaos, you mentioned Chaos Knights. I mean, everybody knows these are historically we've seen Knights and Warriors, but for people that might be new to the meta, let's go take a look at the Knights and see what their purpose is going to be in this army.
Yeah, they actually drop points. They drop points in this edition because they weren't, so good. But, they weren't that great. I mean, they have Ren Dash, but because they have Ren Dash, they actually have Ren -1 for my battalion. Yeah. So, I take the 3 attack weapon that hits on 3s, wounds on 3s, and they'll be -1 damage. But the thing with them, there's 9 of them. They all have 3 wounds. I can buff them like crazy with the War Shrine, bringing them to a rerollable 4+ save or rerollable 3+ save with all the bonuses of the War Shrine. And they also have the Ruin Shield for the 5-up, 6-up. And they also have 9 models, so they also have an additional 6-up save. I mean, you're just stacking things on top of stacking things. And you also have the Terrifying Champions ability, which is subtract 1 from bravery of all enemy units within 3 inches of the Chaos Knights, which is almost like doing a wound. Because
can be.
Yeah, because you're going to have 9 guys doing 3 attacks each, right? You have 9 guys doing 3 attacks each. You're going to do some damage. You're going to battle shock somebody unless they're immune. And then, of course, you have your knights, your horses, which all have 2 attacks each.
Which we all know are the ones who actually do all the damage.
Those are the ones you fear. I'll say, okay, all right, Mitch, take 3 save from my knights and 10 saves from my horses. It's just the way they work. By themselves, the Chaos Knights aren't super scary. They are going to put out some damage, but it's about keeping your opponent in check in one place. It's about being able to guarantee I'll charge a unit 9 Skyfires with my Chaos Warriors and do a lot of damage and keep them in one place.
All right, so we've got just shy of 2,000 points at 1970 for this list.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people forget when you have the few extra points that you haven't spent that you also get a triumph. So as if it wasn't enough that you have your destiny dice, you probably are going to get a random roll on the triumph table too.
Yeah. Well, let's not also forget. I still have spells. I didn't even go over my spells. They're just because you're taking the Tzeentch book, and I have the Sorcerer and the Tzeentch. I mean, I'm taking the Glimpse of the Future, which I get to reroll. I get to add dice to the dice pool.
Let's see if I can pull that up. Here we go.
That's So it's a spell 3, Glimpse of the Future. Wait, I'm reading your thing. It's a casting value of a 7, and I get to add a dice back to the Destiny pool. That's what they call it, the Destiny dice pool. So I got to add a dice there. So it's just about, there's so much casting, and I think I also took the Bolt of Tzeentch, which is casting value of an 8, which just does D6 mortal wounds.
Yep, that's for pure. All right.
There's just so much damage you can do. 18 inches D6.
It's basically like a double-powered arcane bolt. If you don't have enough by having an arcane bolt, and you can't double cast it, but these guys get another one for die 6.
Yeah, and then my Manicore gets to do his D3 arcane bolt, and then my Sorcerer gets to cast the Mystic Shield, and there's just so many different spells. It starts to get out of hand, and then it's a lot of fun. I can't wait to play this.
And this is 2 drops, which is just very sweet. That's a big deal. All right, let's go take a look at your next list. So this is your fun list, you said. This is not your most competitive list.
I don't know how competitive this list specifically is. I mean, when I read the book, I haven't actually played this list specifically, but I can, as a tournament player, you can play things in your head. Right. You can kind of, figure out how would this work. And to be honest, when I played, I guess we can talk about it a little bit later, but my last game was actually against Tom, who plays.
We'll end the show talking about that, because there's some good conversation with that. There's that Nurgle list is something that I don't think anybody who's been list building has probably heard of that list. Anybody in the competitive scene, it's still viable, and I'm sure we're going to see him deploy it again. But we'll talk about our experiences with that just before we end up. So this is your Tzaangor list.
Yeah. So this is kind of a very similar to my list that I won Adepticon NOVA with, except where the Tzaangors were really Skyfires. The one unit was actually another unit of 9 Skyfires. But so to start with Lord of Change, I'm sure a lot of people know about him.
Yeah, we've experienced him quite a few times.
Quite a bit. And I'll kind of go over.
Let me go grab his Lord of Change here. Good. You
so
start off and I'll go get the scroll.
In a nutshell, you need to protect the Lord of Change, so that's why I do a bubble wrap. He's my general. He has the command trait Arc Sorcerer, which gives him 2 additional spells he gets to pick from. And I also give him the Phantasm Weapons, which gives you an additional -1 rend. So if you look at his weapons, you have to pick between the Rod of Sorcery or the Baleful Sword. I always go with the sword every time. And the reason why is because he's not only a good caster, I want people to fear him in combat as well, right? So now his Staff of Tzeentch has 3-inch range with 3 attacks. It hits on 4s, it wounds on 2s unless he's taking damage, and it's rend -1 because of the Phasma. I can't even say the word. Whatever the weapon thing that adds -1 rend, and it does 2 damage. So he has the potential of doing 6 wounds right there. And then you have the Baleful Sword, which has 2 attacks, hits on 4s, wounds on 2s. Now it's -3 rend, which is going to penetrate through most people's rend. Unless they're immune to it. And then it does 3 damage each. So that's an extra 6 damage. And then he has his Beaks, which is 4 attacks, hits on 4s, wounds on 3s, -2 rend, and does 2 damage each. So that's a possible 8 damage. So he can put out a lot of pain for somebody if they're not ready for him. All right. And that's just his attacking ability. I mean, let's talk about his casting ability. First of all, his command ability allows him to spread his wings out and add +1 to my casting and unbiting rolls. But most importantly is when I roll 2 dice to cast a spell, I take my lowest dice and match it to my highest dice. So if I roll a 6 and a 1, it's actually rolling a 12. And then if I did my command ability, I rolled a 13. And you're not stopping that because you got to roll a 14.
Right. Well, unless you have somebody who who has a lot of pluses,
of course,
like, and
like Nagash or something of that nature.
And Nagash, he's a liability in a lot of cases, but yeah, that's one of the rare situations where you might be able to try to match this craziness. Yeah. I get when I deploy Nagash, I'm usually deploying a corpse cart and a but not even just Nagash, but usually I like to deploy a lot of times a corpse cart and a mortis engine, so I get an extra +2 a lot of times onto my casters. But even then, it is such a challenge to try to unbind some of these spells, or even get your own spells off. That ability to match the highest, even without using Destiny dice, is absurd.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's I feel like it's kind of like cheating. Like I'm like, oh, I rolled a 5 and a 1. Okay, that's 10. Like it's kind of fun, but it's not so fun. But he also has another ability, which I've actually watched your unlocking, and you've talked about this with the Tom we know. And if I ever dispel a spell or unbind a spell, I'm thinking fantasy, unbind a spell on a roll of a 9 or more, I learn that spell.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest, it doesn't play too much because the way my list works is I want to kill you. So I want to cast my spells because a lot of my Tzeentch spells are about killing you, which is what we're about to talk about now, Infernal Gateway. Infernal Gateway only goes off on a 7. So as long as I spread my wings and add +1 to my casting, if I roll a 3 with 2 dice, the spell goes off on a 7 unless you can dispel it or unbind it. And I roll 9 dice. And on the chart under Infernal Gateway, if I've taken no wounds, on a 3 up, you're suffering a mortal wound with 9 dice.
Yep.
Yeah. What are you, on average, you're taking 6 wounds? Like, holy crap.
Yeah, that was a crazy spell back in the 8th edition. It's
oh yeah. If back in the other edition, pick up your unit. I rolled an 11. Just pick it up. Yeah, I'm sorry, it just disappears. I don't know how that worked, but I rolled an 11. At least we didn't have fate dice back then or destiny dice back then. I'm like, yes, I made it 11. Pick up your unit. You know, that would have been kind of crazy. But he's just so powerful. So again, I mean, he's casting 2 spells, so he can cast Infernal Gateway. But because my command ability, I had 2 additional spells. Go back to I can't remember. I know the names of them. So Infernal Gateway goes off at 7. Fold the Reality. So the way Fold the Reality works is on a it goes off on a value of 7, and I target a demon unit, which of course will be the Skyfires or the Tzaangors. And as long as I don't roll a 1, and I roll a 2 or higher, that many models come back to life. So if you look at Skyfires, they have 4 wounds each. Well, if I roll a 4, I get 4 Skyfires back, which is 16 wounds, which is in this edition is like 300 points extra.
Yeah, it's absurd. It's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
But awesome ridiculous.
It's awesome ridiculous. It's too much. If they just change the keyword of being not demon and stop the Fold the Reality spell, a lot of the power that I've been winning these tournaments will actually be diminished quite a bit because I've used this spell multiple times in games. But here's the kicker. If I happen to roll a 1, the unit's wiped out.
Right. Well, that's the crux of it. You need to wipe out one of these units, like a Skyfire unit, which has a lot of wounds and can get out of dodge pretty easily, keep away from your real serious stuff. But if you don't do that, this ability is going to keep them in the game. Rolling that 1,
Well, go to the next war scroll.
I just want to ask you this because I know the answer to this question, but you roll that 1, you can change that, can't you?
So that's what I was going to say. Go to the next one. Well, you don't have to go to the next one. Go back to, I forgot the other spells. So then we have the Treason of Tzeentch, which in the General's Handbook 2 FAQ, I believe it's what it does is you target a unit and every model within that unit on a roll of a 6+. It doesn't say it in here. It doesn't say it in this because it's an FAQ of General's Handbook 2.
All right, I don't have that here, so
it's fine.
Tell us what the difference is.
Basically, what I remember reading is every time you target a unit, right? And every model in that unit on a roll of a 6+ takes a mortal wound.
Still, right? Large units, horde units, they're going to be rolling 6s.
That's why I take it this way, because now everyone's taking these large units. I want to do, 5 or 6 damage to a unit of bloodletters, or a big block of whatever, just to do more wounds. And he also has Bolt of Tzeentch, which again is D6 damage. So he can cast 2 spells. So I can cast Infernal Gateway and Bolt of Tzeentch. And on average, that's going to do, about 9 wounds? Bolt of Tzeentch, average 3 to 4, and then Infernal Gateway, average 6. So 9 to 10 damage just from the Lord of Change and Mortal Wounds. And we're not talking about combat yet.
Yeah, this is how, by the way, I lost my general turn 1 against one of the Tzeentch players I went up against at Adepticon.
If you bring him too close, that's what can happen.
I didn't bring him too close. He came to me.
Oh, really? Oh, that bastard. All right, go to Karos.
All right, let's go to Karos. We all know Karos.
We love, and all my list, pretty much the power.
We love hate him.
I love him. He's great. He's Merry Christmas. That's what I think.
All right,
Can't be mad at me.
Let me go find him. Yeah, here we go.
So I have him in front of me as well. So the stat line's very similar to the Lord of Change. He has a movement value of a 10, 4 up save, bravery 10, 14 wounds. He only has 2 weapons. He has the Staff of Tomorrow, 2 attacks, hits on 4s, wounds on 2s unless he's taking damage, -1 rend 2 damage. And then he has Beacon Claws. Actually has 5 attacks instead of 4, so 1 more. Hits on 4s, wounds on 3s, -1 rend 2 damage. And still, that's decent. I don't think it's great. For combat for a monster, it's decent. 7 attacks.
He can hold his own, though. He can charged.
He can hold his own for 1 turn, and that's my experience with him. So unless I can kill what's in front of me in 1 to 1.5 to 2 turns, I don't want to charge him in. Unless I've already used his abilities, unless he doesn't really matter, because sometimes it just doesn't matter. But overall, that's kind of the way I play him. It just depends on the situation. His spell is called Gift of Change, which is different from Bolt of Change. And what this does is it's the same casting value of an 8, and it does D6 mortal wounds. Now I can create a spawn. Yeah, I can create a spawn, but I'm not going to waste points on a spawn.
Yeah, you probably don't have the reinforcement points even prepared for it. Yeah,
I would spend it on another unit, 10 Marauders.
Right.
It's just his magic ability, which is really, really cool. He can cast 2 spells, and he can also attempt to unbind 2 spells. And he does the same thing as the Lord of Change, where he matches the lowest to the highest, which is crazy cool. He knows all. Kairos also knows the spells of all other wizards from your army within 18 inches. So he knows all of my Lord of Change spells, all my Shaman spells, and he can cast 2. So now I can really pick and choose what spells I really need to go off, because I can match the lowest to the highest, or I can use my fate dice, or it's cheating. It's great. You know, it's it's pretty bad, but
don't call it cheating.
Okay. I remember Tom or you said it was cheating in your unlocking, so I'm going off what you guys said.
Okay, maybe it was like cheating. Yeah, it's not cheating.
It's not cheating. Yeah. Here's the kicker that actually has saved me in so many games, and why I love Kairos so much. Once per battle, you can change the result of a single dice roll to the result of your choosing. However, this ability may not be used to affect the first turn, which I'm glad they did. But you have to understand the capability. So, of course, fold the reality. You can imagine if I rolled a 1 with a unit that's 600-point unit of Skyfires, I'm going to change that to 6, and I'm going to get 6 Skyfires back. Right. But so many games, I didn't roll a 1. And so many games, I don't need to get back my Skyfire units. I need to do something else. So you can imagine, in a lot of these games you're playing in Age of Sigmar, you're facing against these big horde blocks. You know, it could be what are those guys the star maces that just do D3 mortal wounds? Yeah. The paladins, right? You take a big block of 12 of them, and 4 of them have the D3 mortal wounds. Well, let's say they're about to charge into my Skyfires. Well, holy crap, I'm about to lose a lot of Skyfires, and I didn't buff them. I didn't give them immune to battle shock. I didn't do any of those things because I had to spread my wings and get +1 to cast for whatever situation I had. Well, I'm afraid of them. They're 9 inches away, or they're 5 inches away, or they're 3 inches away, and they roll to charge me, and they rolled a 1 and a 6. Well, I'll use Kairos to change his 6 to a 1, and now he failed charge with his best unit, and now it's my turn with his whole army. His best model is 600-point unit sitting in front of my entire army. Well, you can pretty much win the game off that roll alone. Yeah. So I've won so many games with him, just stopping like a zombie vampire lord from charging, and then I kill the 450 unit. I mean, using that, changing the dice roll is really, really, it's like cheating.
Yeah, and I don't know, I don't think this has been a controversial thing, but I know that there has been conversation about whether or not it's your dice roll or your opponent's. Yeah. But because it says any single dice roll, and it doesn't explain that any further, it gives the open-ended version of that. I wonder if they're ever gonna, I don't think they've ever FAQ'd that specifically.
Yeah, I mean, if they do, it'd be less attractive to take him. It'd be more attractive to take another Lord of Change. Right.
But also, that's his kind of thing.
Yeah, it is. But you also got to look at the Lord of Change. So imagine your Lord of Change has taken like 6 wounds, right? So he's weakened, and so his Infernal Gateway now only wounds you on 4s or 5s or something like that. Well, I'll just take Kairos and copy the spell because you haven't done any wounds to Kairos. I copy a spell at full wounds, and now I'm doing it on 3s again. So that's a good way of picking and choosing what to cast and what to do with. So he's awesome, and that's why you hear a lot of people talk about the Kairos and Lord of Change combination. Well,
it's almost a staple of Tzeentch. By the way, that Oracle of Eternity, it says specifically there you can't use it to affect the turn, but there's been obviously the updated updated details in the GHB2 says that no ability can affect the turn of the order of battle.
Correct. So, which is great because weren't there other armies that had the ability of modifying it?
Fire Slayers had what I think was Lords of the Lodge. I don't know if it was that, but they had a battalion that allowed you to do that. There are a couple of those out there. Now that's not going to be the case in match play, so it does diminish this a little bit, but it's still fucking powerful.
Yeah, it is, and he's one of my favorite models. I mean, he's shooting out Christmas gifts out of his hand. Why wouldn't I take that model? He looks so cool.
All right, so let's see. Yes, it is an awesome conversion. Okay, so next up we have
Tzaangor Shaman.
Tzaangor Shaman. Okay, I'm gonna go pull that up while you're talking about him.
Right. So, I mean, I think by now everyone who's in the competitive scene knows what the Shaman does. Basically, he buffs the Skyfire units, giving them +1 to hit, which makes your Skyfires hit on 3s. The champion hits on 2s. And every time I roll a 5 or a 6 with my Skyfires, it does D3 mortal wounds, super overpowered and awesome. He also himself has an ability of once per battle at the start of your hero phase, you can choose for the Tzaangor Shaman to drain, basically cast this magic spell. On a turn in which you do so, you can attempt to cast a second spell. This can even be the same spell. Of course, you can't do the same spell. And can choose to re-roll both of the dice or one of the dice. So if I really want some extra spells to go off for whatever reason, because he's a Tzaangor Shaman, I can actually take an additional spell. So his basic spell does D3 mortal wounds, which if you do any mortal wounds, you can refill a Tzaangor unit. But then I can cast this one use only ability to cast another spell, and I get to re-roll the dice depending on, you know, if I fail to cast it. So overall, he's a buffer. He buffs my best unit. He can cast some spells. You basically want to keep him alive. And I believe, what magic item did I put on him? Or what spell? I think I put Treason. It was, yes. Yeah, Treacherous Bond. So you need to keep your Shaman alive for at least the first 2 turns of the game, because that's when you're really going to weaken your opponent. And what Treacherous Bond does, it basically bonds your model to a unit. And every time your Shaman takes a wound or a mortal wound, you can bounce that damage to that unit you selected. So I'll select a Skyfire unit that's immune to Battle Shock. And every time you wound my Shaman, I'll just bounce it to my Skyfires, because Fold the Reality, I can get back my Skyfires, and I'm keeping my Shaman alive.
Got it. I tried to find it, but I'm gonna move on.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew it. It's fine. But you'll see on my spells with Karos and also the Lord of Change, I took 2 Fold the Reality spells, and that's you have to do that, because if they kill one of your models and you don't have Fold the Reality, you're not getting back your Skyfires or your Tzaangor. So definitely make sure that you put it on both.
Does it specifically say while the other unit is on the table? Because I know that if you know the spell of other wizards, because there's a bunch of those types of things in, like Death, for instance, Nagash can do that with other wizards and that you take. As expensive as that is and impossible to really benefit, but you don't lose it if that guy dies. You know the spell. So do you know if that's actually says while they're on the table?
So the reason I don't. So if my Lord of Change dies, I lose all those spells that he knew. Well, I don't lose them. I just can't cast them anymore because the model's dead.
Right, but Karos still knows them.
No, Karos knows the friendly wizards that are within 18 inches. Well, if the wizard's dead, he doesn't know the spells.
Yes, BB's no longer there. That's why. So it's contingent on the presence, the proximity within 18 inches. And that's a big deal. Yeah,
and that's why I have 2 Fold the Realities, because it's too lucrative not to.
Absolutely, I could see why. All right, so you have 2 Chaos Marauder units.
Yeah, we already know what they do.
Yep, we don't have to go up to but it's nice to be able to grab them. They're your battle line, and your Tzaangors. Tzaangors are killing, man.
They are. But going back to the Marauders, remember you have to bubble wrap your whole army. So you bubble wrap your Tzaangors, you bubble wrap your Skyfires, you bubble wrap Karos and Fate Weaver. And again, when you're playing a game, you ask your opponent, like you ask them, you don't ask them, like, what range weapons do they have for shooting? Because you don't want them to be able to shoot your Shaman first turn if they go first, right? So a lot of times you have to bubble wrap it in such a way to where your Shaman's so far back where they can't even shoot them, even if they, wanted to.
Right. Well, bubble wrapping is something I'm very familiar with.
Yeah. All right. So Tzaangors, I have 30 of them. They move quick. They have a 6-inch move. They have a paper save of a 5+. The bravery is low at a 5 up, but they do have 2 wounds each, which kind of makes up for their bravery. The leader of the unit can add +1 to hit. 1 in every 5 of your Tzaangors can be a mutant, which basically they're with their paired Savage Blades, they make 3 attacks rather than 2. They have an icon which, with my casting, where is it? At the start of each of your hero phases, take a dice for each wizard, friend or foe within 9 inches of them. Pick an enemy unit within 18 inches, and on a roll of a 4+, you're doing mortal wounds. So I have 3 casters, so that's going to be 3 dice, unless there's evil wizards around me as well. And I'll roll a 4+. You're just taking extra damage. I mean, it's just extra damage, which is, can't beat that. Extra wounds. What the hell, right? A unit that includes the horn can run and charge in the same turn, so there's no reason why you would never run. So you're moving 6 inches. You're running D6 up to 12. Right? And you're able to charge still, which is Holy crap, that's powerful. And then you have to outfit your models. So you have 30 models. Some of them, for every 5 Tzaangors can be a mutant. So up to 6 of them I can make mutants. And then I can make all of them the shields if I wanted to. And the shields are every time I suffer, what was it? On a roll of a 6, the shield deflects the damage or in the wound. So every time you do damage to me on a roll of a 6, the wound is ignored. And then you have another one. If this unit is within 9 inches of an Arcanite hero at the start of the combat phase, you can add 1 to any wound rolls made for the unit, which again, the Shaman, which has Treacherous Bond, and it's probably not dying, it's within 6 inches or 9 inches. You're just bonusing your models. And now, depending on what items you took, paired Savage Blades, you can add 1 to any hit rolls for models that are attacking with paired Savage Blade, which, you know, you just have 2 blades that are just doing double the damage. It's just really cool. But here's the kicker. You can make 1 additional attack for each model in this unit with the Savage Blade, right? And I believe how many models can be a Savage? Okay, I have to go back.
Let's see.
It says it up here. I think each
Savage Great Blades.
Yeah, Savage. It's Savage Great Blades.
Okay, so Savage Great Blades, you could have 2 in every 5 models, and the unit can be armed with a double-handed Savage Blade.
So what's that? 12. So 12 of my models are going to have these Savage Great Blades, which right now they have 1 attack, hits on a 4, wounds on a 4, -1 rend, 2 damage. But here's the kicker. For every 9 models in my unit, I can make an additional attack, right? So now my Savage Blade has 3 attacks each.
Yeah.
Right? Like, holy crud. Like, you're talking 12 times 3 of the Savage Blade. You're doing, then that it doesn't include your paired blades. That doesn't include your beaks. You're putting out so many attacks. You're killing big zombie blocks like they're nothing. You're doing
like zombie blocks. You get a random and 2 damage.
Well, I only talk these. I mean, you could charge 2 units of 30 bloodletters and have a field day.
Right.
Like, seriously, like this is great. And my fate dice or my destiny dice, I guarantee a charge and spread them out. I take 2 of my 6s. Now my charge is 12. I'm getting places. I'm going somewhere. And I ran in charge. I'm going somewhere with these units. And they're going to sit on an objective, and people aren't going to want to go too close to them, or they're going to, you know, get chewed up.
It's a blender unit. It's pretty impressive. Yeah.
I like them. You know, and the thing I like a lot about this list is I can take both my Lord of Change and Karos and a Shaman and the Tzaangors and my next War Scroll, my Skyfire.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, the creme de la creme.
My little babies, my little Christmas themed babies, right? Now, I think everyone knows these. I mean, they move 16 inches. Well, let's back up. To be good in Age of Sigmar, or to be competitive, or to have a unit that's competitive, your unit has to be able to move fast, right? Your unit has to put out quite a bit of damage, survive, right? You have to do a couple of things.
You have to compete in all the different facets of the game and have some kind of, you have your hand in that cookie jar for movement, for being able to shoot, being able to kick, do more wounds, be able to take the punishment, and be able to move. And if you can do all that, you're good. But if you can do one of them really fucking well, that's how you own.
I think the best thing about the Skyfires is combat. Right? And I know in your unlocking, I remember Tom saying, don't get these guys in combat. I'm like, no, get these guys in combat as quickly as humanly possible.
Yeah, they surprised me in one game I played with them. I agree with you.
They are unstoppable, right? And I'll go over it. So they move 16. They have a paper save of a 5-up. They have bravery 6 and 4 wounds. Their bow has a 24-inch shot with 1 attack, hits on a 4, wounds on a 3, -1 rend, and D3 damage. That's crazy. Then they have 3 different close combat attacks. The first one is a great bow. 2 attacks, hits on 5s, wounds on 5s, no rend, 1 damage. The other one is the, hits on 4s, hit wounds on 5s, 1 damage. But here's the kicker, the disc. What the hell? D3 attacks, hits on 4s, wounds on 3s, -1, and then D3 damage? That is crazy. And then they have the ability, in the combat phase, you can re-roll all failed to hit and wound rolls for this unit of Tzaangor Skyfires if no enemy units within 3 inches have attacked yet. Well, if it's your turn, you'll just pick the Skyfires first. I can't tell you how many times I played in General's Handbook too. I literally just charged a unit of 30 bloodletters and killed them in combat, just with my Skyfire unit. Because you look at it, right? 9 guys that have 2 attacks each. That's 18 attacks that hit on 5s, wound on 5s, re-rolling everything. Your beaks have 1 attack, so that's 9 attacks, re-rolling everything. And then your D3 disc attacks with -1 rend, re-rolling everything?
Yeah, if you go into combat with these, if these guys are in combat at the beginning, you have to activate whatever's in combat with them first.
Yeah,
you must. But I will say this: it's the best way to drop them, because you kind of neuter them. If they want to survive, if they want to be able to shoot, and if they don't want to stay in combat, they're going to have to retreat. Mm-hmm. You know, if they otherwise, and that takes away their shooting, which is pretty devastating. But even so, they're going to dish damage. You're going to take losses, but getting them, locking them into combat really kind of can limit some of their capabilities. I do agree. You need to get these guys in combat, but let me tell you, when you do, don't be shocked if your unit if it doesn't get deleted, it's going to get really bloody.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to be tactful with your choices. Like, I remember I was playing the Bloodletter. They had 5 units of 30 Bloodletters. What's the guy? Yeah, what's of course the Herald.
The Burn Host.
And then he also had that one banner that gives you +1 attack. So of course I know what to kill. You need to kill that +1 attack, and it would be nice to kill the other guy that makes everything move 2d6 inches. So all I did I kept 1 unit in my bubble, right? Shooting at 1 unit, and pretty much I think I did 15 wounds in one shot. And then my other Skyfire killed both of his characters because I guaranteed my dice. I was like, oh, these 3 dice are going to be mortal wounds, and then I'll shoot the other guy with the other dice, and I killed him as well. And it's about target priority with Skyfires. You need to kill the characters first and then charge into a unit, because the characters are really what, if I left that banner sitting there adding +1 attack for all of his Bloodletters, I would be in a world of pain. So a lot of this is just target priority as well.
So this is not your top tournament list, though. This is a pretty impressive list, but this is not the best of the best that you're looking to bring out.
I at this point, I mean, we're still early, so I haven't played enough games, but this looks pretty nice. I like this one.
It does.
I do like this one because I still protect my models. I still have a unit of Skyfires, and the Tzaangors put up damage on top of damage, and I still have both my Lords of Change with lots of casting capability and keeping my models alive. I like this one a lot, just as much as I like my mortals as well.
Yeah. So let's take a look at your top, your top of the line. Let's see. This is what you're bringing. This is what you're as we speak right now. This is what you're bringing to Adepticon.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm pondering this. Basically, it's what I took in Adepticon this year and Nova minus the Lord of Change.
Right, because of the point changes. Right.
Right. So the only we already know all of these models because they're in the other 2 lists.
Right. So I'll stay on the screen. Yeah.
Right. So, you have your Kairos with that 1 dice that can manipulate what we need to do, whether it's stopping a churn. You have the Shaman who's buffing both units of Skyfires with the treacherous bond to keep them alive. You also have the Shaman has to be it doesn't have to be. I mean, the Shaman, the general, so that I have the Nexus Fate, which basically what that is, on a roll of a 1 or 6 during my command phase, I can replace. If I rolled a 1 or I rolled a 6, I can replace one of the Destiny dice with the dice I rolled. I may. And then I have his other power, which is basically every time I use a Destiny dice, on a roll of a 6, I get a Destiny dice back. Mm-hmm. So he's all about, keeping the Destiny dice flowing. And then, of course, the Gaunt Summoners for those people that want to take the big horde blocks to murder half of it. And then 2 units of Skyfires is quite powerful.
It's brutal. I faced one army with 27 of these fuckers. But
yeah,
facing 18 is the new sweet spot.
I think 18 is the sweet spot. It's what I took this year in both games, and it is I guess the sweet spot.
There's a lot of very tough choices with this list, I have to admit. Look, you got Kairos, he's got 14 wounds. He's got all these incredible abilities. You got the Tzaangor Shaman who has a lot of different buff abilities. There's certainly a target of opportunity. You want to try and get him out. And then you got the Gaunt Summoner who can delete half of a horde unit. And then if you look, you may not be interested in taking out the Marauders, but they're going to start scoring objectives.
That's right.
They're going to be screening. And then you also have you have real serious choices on whether you focus on one of these characters or try to delete one of these units of Skyfires. And while you're not focusing on one, you're getting punished by whatever's left.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many games my Marauders won me because of the fact that they're just sitting on objectives and everybody else is like, how do I deal with these Skyfires? And they're not paying attention to the objective game.
Yeah, well, that's part of it. You can't ignore the scenarios. I mean, it's not all about killing, and that's really the most important thing in tournament play. I hear a lot of people whine and complain about, oh, kill points. You know, it's, oh, this army, I killed all his army, or I wiped him out, or I tabled him, and I still lost. You know why you lost? Because you didn't focus on the way to win, which is scoring points.
Well, that's how I learned from you. Remember, I literally wiped your army up, but I lost.
Well, that was the one. You learned from me one game.
That's all it took.
I'm not the one. Look, I don't have the trophy from Adepticon. I don't have the trophy from Nova. So you clearly didn't learn everything from me. You learned one thing from me. All right.
I know how to read a book. Let's just say that.
Well, yeah, you do. You clearly. All right. So let's go. You know how to read a book.
I'm like, these Skyfires look pretty good. Let's take 18. That sounds like a good idea.
All right, so we're going to talk about this, okay?
Yes.
All right. So this, let me go. Hold on a second. I go pull that down here. This, I'm going to go open up with this. I know that this was talked about very briefly at Warhammer Weekly yesterday, and this is a conversation that has been had a couple of times by Tom, and certainly a lot of people have talked about his Nurgle list. So the reason why we're bringing this up is because we have some commonality here. First of all, somebody brought up whether or not Tom and I had ever played. I don't technically think this is a game. We were actually, and I love to play him. I'd love to get him to get across the table with him, just because I think it would be an amazing game, a win or lose. But we were kind of testing out lists and spitballing. He wasn't even going to enter into the friggin' tournament. And after playing around with what his strategy would be on the table, me and a couple other people were just like, how can you not go and play? I told him, I said it to him straight to his face. I said, if you don't enter this tournament and take the opportunity that maybe you could even win it or place really substantially high, I said, I am going to fucking ruin you online in my video. I said, look what happened here. I just wanted to give everybody perspective here. My army was not optimized. I definitely hit above my weight class. I came in 8th in Adepticon, so I did pretty damn well. I actually came in ultimately higher than Tom. But let me just say, matchups are key. And some armies, if they do well against some, they're not going to do well against others. There is no way I can beat this army. We rolled, we deployed, we put down our guys. He got the turn because he had and we're going to get to yours because that's really what I want to cap on here. But yeah, he had the drop advantage, so he got top of turn 1. We didn't even get to turn 2 because the two of us looked at each other, and it was kind of like that. If you ever looked at the old samurai duels in literature and in film, like two samurais go to a bridge and they just kind of stare each other down, and then one walks away.
Yep.
They know who won. Okay. I looked at him at the end of his deployment here and I said, you won.
Yeah. He's sitting on all the objectives and you can't get to him.
And I can't move him off. This was an alpha bunker. This is probably the first alpha bunker that we kind of saw. And there are some very impressive ways to make his list, and I don't know if he's actually done a full video to talk about his list, but I want everybody to realize that it's not an invincible list, but it is a very fucking tough list. And here's why. I had no answers. There was no way I was going to win this. There's no way I was going to trick his Chaos Warriors. I just had no chance. But you played him, and why don't you tell that story? I'm going to kind of turn it over to you. Why don't you tell that story? Even pre-game, what you guys were talking about too.
Well, so first of all, I watched Tom and I watched Vince and I watched yourself on YouTube. So when I saw you guys, I was like, holy crap, that's Tom. That's, MC1 Gamer. That's Vince.
Oh, stop.
No, it's true. It was so
true. First of all, we're just another bunch of assholes rolling dice. But none of us have won Adepticon and Nova back to back.
Oh, okay. I mean, be that as it may, you entertain the crap out of me, and I like watching your unlockings, and same thing with Vince and them. They talk about tactics, and I love tactics and things like that. But so I massacred every game, and I had max points, and we're sitting at the very end getting ready to play game 5, and I'm eating some type of incredible taco dish from this place in Chicago, and me and Tom were just talking, and I'm like, hey Tom, what are you playing? And he told me I'm playing Warriors of Chaos. And I'm trying to be friendly and funny at the same time. I'm like, how the hell are you on top table with Warriors of Chaos? Like, I'm just like, what the hell, dude? Like, you got to be kidding me. Like, what are you paying your opponent? Like, what's going on? And it's funny. And then he asked me what I was playing. Of course, I told him. He was like, oh, okay. And he understood, what my stuff does. And then we were just chit chatting, and he told me that I think he drew a game and won a couple, and I told him my mascot, and he was like, well, there's no way we're going to play each other. And I was like, probably not. And I started telling him all my tactics and what I planned on doing against my opponent, the bubble wrapping and the whole nine, right? And then Tom, reciprocated. He was like, oh yeah, my stuff's -1 to hit first turn, and then -1 another hit. You can't kill my shit. And I'm like, well, that's amazing. Like, where is this? And I started like frantically going through the war scrolls. So I was like, these are so cool. What is this? And I bought the war scrolls. Like, that is amazing. And then finally, 10 minutes later, they put up the postings, who's playing who. And Tom goes, what the hell? I'm playing Kaleb. And I'm like, let's go, Tom. We know what our armies do. Let's have some fun. And of course, go back to, do you have the picture of our deployment? I think I showed, we talked about it.
I'll go grab it. You go ahead.
And so he out-deployed me, right? And we're playing a scenario where the objectives are in the middle, kind of going across the table. And if you hold the objective, you can carry the objective. That pieces of paper, yeah, those pieces of paper you see in the middle of the table are objectives. That's right
here.
And a little bottle cap and that other bottle cap are objectives. Right, and you basically carry those objectives back to your side. And if you're holding them at the end of the game, you win. So in his thought, he's thinking strategy. And in my thought, I'm still kind of new to this system. I'm thinking, I got to kill his stuff. Like that's I'm so used to Warhammer Fantasy battles, and that's because all the scenarios back then were kill your opponent as quickly as possible and you win. So that's what I'm thinking when I'm playing. But he's thinking objectives. So he literally teleports his army with sail on all 3 objectives right in front of my army first turn. He tries to buff his stuff, and I think he failed on one of the +1 saves to cast, but he's still sitting in front of me with a bunch of stuff, and I'm like, holy hell. And so then after he did that and he moved all his stuff up, it was my turn, and I did so much magic. Like, I'm like, take 42 mortal wound saves. Like I was really taking like 40 mortal wound saves, Tom. And Tom's like, that's cool. And he started rolling. And he's like, all right, I failed 10. I lost 5 guys. And I'm like, just 5 guys out of 40? Like, what the hell kind of army is this? And then I'm like, okay, shoot everything at them. And I did like with my Skyfires, they do a lot of mortal wounds and -1. And he has all these re-rolls, He
has layered defenses,
Layered defense, which is awesome. Kind of like my, well, that's where I got the idea of the Tzeentch Warriors of Chaos because of Tom. Just a different faction. His is Nurgle, mine Tzeentch. And so we basically shot everything, and I did another 5 or 6 wounds, and he's immune to battle shock. So even though I did like 10 wounds between shooting and that, he still had like 17 models left, and he's still sitting on the objectives, and he's ready to start claiming them. Now, what happens is if you're holding the objective and the unit dies, the actual objective goes back D6 inches or 6 inches or D6 inches back towards your opponent. So the objective keeps going back and forth depending on what we kill.
Oh, that's right. I remember this now. Okay.
And so with that said, then I was like, I need to actually charge him with a unit of Skyfires. I made that decision because I'm like, if I don't kill this unit within the next 2 to 3 turns out of a 5-game turn, he's just going to sit on this and win. So I made the decision.
And let's illustrate just how many guys there are, and they're all 2 wounds apiece.
Yeah.
Like how many guys? Look at the line of Chaos Warriors there. They're 2 wounds a pop, and they're incredibly hard to even kill one of them.
Oh yeah, because he had layered defenses, but as I said in my previous rant about the Skyfires, they can put up some damage. And here's the kicker that I feel like I won the game because of the scenario as well a little bit, because the announcer Alex goes, all buildings are this, I can't remember whatever it was, but they gave, if you take D3 damage,
go ahead.
You get +1 to hit.
Right.
So now I'm like, oh shit, Tom, I'm sitting next to a building. Yeah, I'll take D3 damage. I have fold the reality. I'll get my guys back. I don't care. And I have 4 wounds, so you can't even kill a model yet. I'm like, boom. I actually do mortal wounds on a 4-up. I'm like, holy crap, this is awesome. And Tom was like, oh great, here we go. Right. So and that's how I killed so many of did extra mortal wounds, but he had those layered defenses, which really kind of nullified all that. But that's basically in a nutshell. We just were fighting until the last game. He was winning on the objectives. He had more objective points than me, but we still had 2 turns left. And then I think I tabled his army at the very turn, and then we counted up the points. And with me having the objectives 2 additional turns longer, I was able to pull the victory out against him. But it was the hardest game by far I played, in the scenario. in the 5 games I played in the past 2 days was Tom. And it was amazing. I was like, Warriors of Chaos are amazing.
Yeah, and when in a well-built list, it's even that crazier. So yeah, he's very worthy. I can't wait to see what kind of stuff he brings out. He's going to be on some unlockings that I'm going to have in the future. So we'll be able to see some of the fun that he can bring to a list analysis. And he's always incredibly great to have on the show. So looking forward to when we can get you on, Tom. But we both had this experience. Kind of, even though mine wasn't an official game, it still was. How do you handle it? It's a lot of times it's about what the matchups. You could have a list. You have to try to build a list that's really going to address not just being able to be killy, survivable, deal with the objectives, but also sometimes the matchup is not going to go in your favor. What's really good against one list, one army, is not going to be against the other. Now, I don't know how much you've looked at the new allegiances and some of the new power structures that we're looking at with the meta, but I definitely think that Tzeentch is going to see some challenges from other lists. I think that they're a very good counter for things like the Murder Host.
Sylvaneth, I countered them pretty hard.
Sylvaneth, well, one of the reasons why Sylvaneth really has a hard time against Tzeentch is because there's no real mortal wound defense.
No.
So that's a big problem, and a lot of their strengths are kind of equated or matched and exceeded by what the Tzeentch can do. I think Seraphon might be the next an army that might be able to put Tzeentch in its place. Maybe not completely dominated, but well generaled and with the right circumstances, depending on the scenario. They have a lot of interesting shenanigans, and I've gone over that with you.
Yep.
I've kind of opened I'm going to be doing an unlocking. I know somebody in the chat had already asked about that. There's going to be an unlocking that's going to be coming up where I have a number of different lists. A lot of people have been talking about Seraphon. So among a lot of the other things that people are very interested in seeing, we'll be seeing that. But I think that might be one of your biggest challenges. A really well-structured and well-played Seraphon list could make a game for you.
Yep. I would tell people, I mean, the best thing to do is to lose. Like, I'm not joking. Like, I remember I got into Age of Sigmar and I lost every game. And that was the most eye-opening thing. I'm not the person that you beat me. I'm like, I don't sulk or anything. It's good because you learn. You learn how you lost, why you lost, and that way you don't duplicate that in the future game. So I hope new armies come out, and I hope they dominate Tzeentch, because then I can rethink my list. I can retool something else. I don't want to play the same list every tournament. That's not that's not fun.
That's why lots of us are psychotic and we have multiple armies and closets and rooms filled with
in my room. I don't want to tell you, like, I've won quite a bit of tournaments. I have a store back there. It's kind of embarrassing. I hide it from my wife just so she doesn't see it. We're all crazy. I'm building so much.
I have a closet right over there that is. It used to be our seasonal wardrobe change. Yeah. Little by little, it's kind of gotten taken over. Oh. It's probably about a good 10 feet wide of just stuff.
Oh yeah, it's
my hobby.
It's getting. I love it though.
Yeah.
Right. I love it. It's my next house. I'm gonna have a dedicated room of just gaming. Like I just can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. But I'm planning on building. I'm building for my brother, one of those big cabbage guy. I forgot. I don't even know what they're called, with the big boars, and they can do like the first turn charge. Like he wants to do it, so I'm building
the mega bosses. Yeah.
I can't remember all the names, and he loves that stuff. So I'm like, dude, I can't wait to build it.
That's the new hotness for Oruks. They double.
Yeah, it don't even matter. I'm just gonna build it. I'm gonna make it look real cool and
the cabbages.
The big cabbage. Like let's play some games.
Doom of Darkness, I think, was the first one that used to call them the cabbages.
They look like cabbages. I might even use real lettuce.
They're like a ball of lettuce.
Yeah, I put some legs on it and be like, that's my model. I saved $100. Like that's and also I wanna completely finish building the new Warriors of the Mortals list as well. So I want to be able to take different units. So I want to basically make Slaanesh, Nurgle, Khorne, and Tzeentch, so I can mix everything I want around and go to different tournaments, and it's what I like. It's a lot of fun.
I really like what you said about losing being the biggest learning. And I teach a lot. I show a lot of people how to play the game. I've demoed a lot, and I'm help grow the community in the local meta, local area, the regional area. And I know a lot of people do that too, especially as Age of Sigmar was growing. And you sandbag a little bit when you're with a new player, but when when you've done a lot of tournament play against high level competition, it's hard to have these casual games against people that maybe only just got into it.
Yes,
because they're going to lose. But the thing that I always tell people is you're going to improve. Just stick with it. Don't get frustrated. I know I've seen a lot of people. They pick up an army, they lose with it. They're like, "Fuck this! It sucks. I'm going to pick up another army." They get rid of it, and then they pick up another army. They're like keep shuffling and changing. Yeah. And the truth is there are some armies that are stronger than others.
Yeah, certainly. It's definitely. What I do with a lot of new people, I switch armies. I take my broken army and I give it to my opponent. And that way I get to play against my list with their list. And I know that their list is nowhere near as strong as mine because of the way I do it. But at least that way they get to learn. They get to learn what my stuff does. And that's honestly, reading what your opponent's stuff does is the way to victory. I mean, there's a reason why Tom does such a great job playing the game, because he knows what my stuff does. Right. And that's why in a game that I've never played certain things, like I've never played Seraphon, and I'll be the first one to be like, what does your skinks do? Holy crap. What does this do? You can dispel things the whole table. Wow. Okay.
You better start reading up, because
I have my iPad, this big 12-inch Pro looking thing. It's here to teach me. I started just randomly buying books just so I can learn different armies, just to help me play them, because you need to know what their special abilities do.
What armies do you think you play the most? I know you've played Stormcast.
So
you played Undead clearly at least once.
so top tables are normally those really strong lists. So I play a lot of Death. I play a lot of Sylvaneth on high levels, Stormcast on high levels. I personally have seen on the top tables like Beastclaw Raiders, and I've seen some of the Orc Boys, the shooting Orc Boys on the top tables a lot.
The Cunning Ruck list, a lot of archers.
Yep, I played the whole Tomb King army on game 3 of Adepticon, the whole Cetra craziness. I played that. Nice. So I played quite a bit. Now I haven't played against Fire Slayers, and man, do they're looking pretty good.
Yeah, they might be taking the new top spot.
They might be like. Yeah. I wish I lived close enough to some of the high powered gamers so we can just get better as a community. Because
I'll take a road trip down to meet you, man.
Please, I'll come up. You come down. I have a nice gaming table and lots of stuff to do.
If you want, I'll help you prep for an upcoming event. I mean,
it's a ton of fun, and I'm actually trying to get into my YouTube channel of doing battle reports and different things like that.
Yes, let's talk about that. So let me tell us. You have a YouTube channel. It's a small one. It's a new one, but I have a feeling it's going to grow pretty quickly after, not just after people see this. I'm sure you're going to get some subs, but just as if you keep racking up with victories, come on. What's the name of the channel?
So it's Dorkdom Gaming.
Dorkdom
Gaming, because we're a bunch of dorks and we love playing games, and being a dork is awesome. Now I'm a 6'5", 300-pound, big, huge guy. I love playing little toy soldiers. I'm like, I look at these guys. I'm like, are you ready to battle? Let's battle. It's just a lot of fun.
It's kind of like the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy who had all the little.
Yeah.
What is it? What's his name? Yandu.
I can't remember. Yeah, it's just
he had all the little tchotchkes that he collected.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just a lot of fun. I'd rather be doing this than doing some other things, out there. But no, so it's called Dorkdom Gaming. I don't know really what I'm doing. I'm trying to get used to it. I've done my trip to Adepticon. I've done some building tutorials of how I did my Christmas stuff. I've done some very early book reviews of Tzeentch and Nurgle and Khorne. But most importantly, I want to do books of how I built my gaming table, because it goes up and down and has some really cool compartments. And because sometimes you want to play a game and sit down, so you want to lower the table. Make it higher, whatever you want to do. And I want to do a lot of battle reports, because I have a 3D printer, thanks to you. Thanks a lot, Mitch. I literally watched your 3D printer. I was like, I got to buy one of those.
Blaming me again.
I literally have to blame you, because it's literally the reason I bought it. I was like, what did he buy? Okay, let me go. This is really cool. I like this. And I ordered one. And it's printing out a lot of, lot of really cool, this is 40K terrain that I still have to clean up a little bit, but I've a box filled of everything. It's really neat. And I want to do, like, you've even done some YouTube videos of your printed scenery.
I think it's great on for terrain purposes. It's phenomenal. Yeah. So yeah.
But most important, I think I want my YouTube channel to be about battle reports, about tournament guys who want to take very strong armies into tournaments and how different tactics. And I saw Tom's video with moving and piling in and different techniques. And I really want people to know, different techniques you can expect in tournaments, and also to watch for, and just to become a better overall player and trying out different lists and, just things like that. And so that's basically what it is. I only have like 145 subscribers. This is really small, but it's a starting point.
Even with, look, I don't have a whole lot of subscribers either. In the grand scheme of things, it's not like we're in the millions. Okay,
I'm not PewDiePie.
Unless you got 1 million, even 1 million is no big deal anymore. Yeah. Even 10 million is not even that big of a deal anymore. So in our little niche hobby, it doesn't matter. 100, 1,000, 5,000, who gives it? It's a drop in the bucket. Yeah. It's our community, and nobody's getting paid much to do this stuff. We're doing it because we love it. So I love that you have. I'm going to put Kaleb's link in the notes, so you check out his channel. Throw him an invite, and just on closing thoughts. Anything you want to end the show on? Any thoughts on whether it's tournaments or list building or just gameplay or Age of Sigmar in general, or things you want to look forward to in the future?
So, okay, I will say this actually, and my brother's going to hate me for saying this, and a couple of my friends will hate me for saying this, but I will say it. I hated the double churn.
No,
I know how you feel about it. But I hated it. And I hated it because it came from Warhammer Fantasy. And I'll even do videos. I've literally sold in 1 year $20,000 worth of Warhammer models in 1 year. And I just stayed under 20,000, so, tax purposes or whatnot. But I didn't like it. And then I finally started playing it, and I started going to tournaments. And now I actually really like the double churn. Right? Well, I actually find it to be and then that's why the world's going to hate me, because you're like, you said you like it, but you can't prepare for the next turn. You don't know what's going to happen. So you can't go, I'll say, balls out and go crazy and bring all your stuff and attack full on, because you don't know what's going to happen. You have to play defensively and offensively at the exact same time without knowing what's going to happen. You have to cast spells on your models to where you don't know if that spell should be there for 2 turns or 1 churn. And so it's become a little bit more, to me, it's fun, So I wanted to say, I know how you felt about it when I first said it, but I just want people to know that if you're coming from Warhammer Fantasy and you hate the double churn, give it some time, play with it, keep going, keep strategizing, keep thinking about, attacking and playing defense at the same time versus just attacking or doing whatever you're used to doing. But I think Age of Sigmar is awesome. I really like it.
Well, well said, first of all. I look at the double turn and some of the complaints I hear people. It's really easy to plan for you go, I go, you go, I go.
Yeah, and think about it. Like, if I know you go and I go, I can go, okay, your models move 10 inches and they can charge 12. So if I stay 22.1, right, you can't do shit. And that's not really fun for your opponent, but it also it is a type of strategy. But this way, you really have to think about what you're doing and how you're doing it.
I've seen the double turn sway the game in different favor. You could be losing all the way up until the point that you get the double turn, and you're back in it. Yeah. And that's the certainly I've seen double turn completely devastate people as well. It's happened to me. I've done it against other people plenty of times. But the bottom line is that this is why we roll dice. Mm-hmm. We roll dice for the randomness. For you to say, I like this randomness, but not that, I think is ludicrous. And I love that the way you put it, and I love that you said it that way, even though you started out, I was like, oh no, please.
I know.
Kill me now. But that it's also that angst. It's the most anxious thing in the game.
It is. I can't tell you, Mitch. I can't tell you how many times I'm at a tournament. I'm like, all right, ready? Look at my eyes. Ready? Let's roll this dice together. Are you ready? Don't even look at the dice. Just look at me. Are you ready? Let's go. And we roll it. It's a lot of fun too.
It's about the attitude of gaming. We're playing with little plastic and metal figures and rolling dice. And it's silly and it's awesome, but you can't take it so seriously. But the fact that I think it's a small segment of people. I think it's a lot of the old school fantasy players too.
It is.
But I think a lot of them are catching it on. And I think you're absolutely right. stick with it. You'll start learning, and you'll start accepting that that you have to prepare for it. You can't entirely prepare for it, but you have to think about the fact that you might not get that double turn, and you also have to try to kind of put yourself equally in the same breath in a position that if you do get the double turn, that maybe you could steal objectives, you could take the game. I think that is a fundamental part of Age of Sigmar, and anybody who wants to comp it out or is going to try to create some misguided, effort to try to, pull it out or whatever, or complain to GW. I think that first of all, they're going to be unpleasantly surprised that GW is going to dig their heels in on that one. I think they love the double turn, and I think the highly competitive people, they love it too.
Yeah, I think the highly competitive, the highly competitive, I still think is a mixed bag because I see a lot of people that dislike it. The thing again, it's just the fact that you don't know if you're going next. So cast that +1 save, make them immune to battle shock. Make it defensive instead of offensive. Because
don't just run your army across the table thinking that that.
That's why I keep 1 unit Skyfires on my bubble and I attack with 1 because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't want both my units up there. That's just too much, So it's a lot of fun. But I would say last thing I want to leave people with is go to Nova, go to Adepticon. It's a ton of fun.
Well, go to all of them. Go to LVO. Triumph GT up here in the Northeast is becoming a thing. It only had the first one was wildly successful, at least for not marketing. But a lot of these regional events, they're going to only start growing, and I think that we should do a circuit.
Yeah, I would. If I'm married, I'm a manager at T-Mobile. I have kids. It's a little. I have to pick and choose. I think I told you it was one of those things where I literally sent my wife to Hawaii by herself so I can go to Adepticon and Nova.
This was asked in the chat once. How do I get?
It was seriously asked. I was like,
send your wife to Hawaii.
I was like, baby, would you like to go visit your sister? She was like, she literally asked me. She goes, would you be willing not to go to Adepticon in 2018 and we can go to Hawaii? And I was like, can I do both? And it's just like, no. I said, I'm going to Adepticon. You go to Hawaii. It was, but at least from there, she understood how important this is to me, to be with people like yourself, to enjoy a hobby together, to grow a community. She has a better understanding of the way I feel about the hobby. And so it's nice. It's nice because she was so respectful. She used to give me such a hard time, Mitch, years ago.
I have a little hidden secret for you. That's probably not too much of a secret. She probably was just happy to be going to Hawaii.
I think she was. She came back.
Adepticon, Hawaii, come on.
I'm with it. I understand, But when she told me at her sister's house there was no AC, I said, I'm a big guy. I'm so happy I did not go.
Oh God, we have a lot in common, dude.
I was like, you know what?
I need AC.
I need AC.
Right. All right, cool. Thank you so much. Hey, Kaleb. We'll do more of this, I'm sure, and we'll see each other, I'm sure, at some of these events. I wish I could have made it to Nova, excuse me. I wish I could have been there. I had a minor knee surgery. I couldn't make it. But we'll do some more of these and prep for the next big show, and maybe we'll try to get together for a little road trip too.
Love it. Awesome.
Thanks again for being on the show, man.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a good day, everybody. And yes, I know that before I even say that, there's a lot of people asking for unlockings. There's a lot more coming. I got a laundry list of them, and a lot of people asking for their favorite armies to get reviewed. So yes, I'm lining them up. I'm just trying to schedule them with everybody else who I've been inviting, as well as a lot of people that are just on deck. So yeah, keep an eye out for this stuff, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day, everybody.